Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining this webinar on natural treatments for anxiety. You're going to find that there's many easy treatments for anxiety. Many of my patients come to me who can't sleep, have anxiety attacks and nervousness, heart palpitations, and these are just some of the many signs, symptoms of an anxious person. And you're also going to learn today about what we do to cause our anxiety. Of course, we know it's stress, but I'm going to talk about many lifestyle habits that we have that increase our stress. And I'm going to talk about diet and food that is stimulating that also can increase our stress and our anxiety, which we're doing every day. And then I'll talk about habits that we can incorporate in our lives to help us to relax, sleep better, avoid stress, or manage stress, or better deal with the stress of life, not have anxiety attacks. And many of my patients come to me to get off of anxiety medication. So I always encourage people who are not on medication to address this condition of anxiety or even depression or irritability or mood swings with natural herbal remedies before you go for medication like SSRIs and other medication that can be addictive and have many side effects. So if you're having anxiety, stay tuned because we're going to cover how you can overcome this anxiety without medication. Okay? So first, let's start with, what causes our anxiety and tossing and turning at night, which leads to poor sleep. Well, we all know what that is. Stress. And stress can start the day you were born. That's right. If you have a stressful birth and there's a C-section and you're just, you were all relaxed inside of the mother's womb, and now you've got all these bright lights on, and you've got maybe, mother's in surgery, and there's doctors all over the place, and then out you come into this stressful, bright lights, and then you're even taken away from your mother, put in another room. So you got off to a very stressful start. So many of us started with this stress. Now, of course, this is why I had home births, because in a home birth, you can dim the lights, you can have gentle music, and mama can be at home and stay calm. And it's the same with my animals, cats, dogs, chickens, particularly the puppies and kittens. You want their birth to be very stress-free. Don't want to move them, don't want to touch them, don't want to put bright lights on, don't want other people bothering them. So you can start them off very peaceful with their mother and nursing right away without added stress. And then, of course, the next big source of stress we have in life is probably school. And, school can really push you. And, of course, many people like myself believe the school is more of an indoctrination more than an education, and teaching you to show up on time, reprimanding you when you don't show up on time, comparing you against other people, giving you scores and grading you, and having tests. And this is extremely stressful. In fact, many parents have brought me children 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, and older, who were having anxiety, and the parents were thinking of putting them on medication. But after speaking to the child and asking about their life, sometimes waiting for the mother to leave the room and ask the child, does your mother and father push you for straight A's? And when they said yes, Does that create a lot of pressure for you? Yes. Does that stress you out? Yes. Does that affect your sleep? Yes. So there we go. The school, the parents can be the source of stress. So of course, this is why I homeschooled my children and allow them just to sleep in and wake up whenever they woke up. And then we did the homework mostly in the evening when the sun went down, not during the day, so they could just play and spend time with daddy. Basically, my whole child rearing philosophy was based on low stress. And of course, if you know my son, you can see he's very relaxed, mentally stable, and calm person. And he was like that his entire life because he never really had much stress. So it's good to get off to a good start. And then, of course, after school, the next source of stress is work. The boss can be quite stressful. Some people say, as a boss, I'm stressing them out. Bosses are, pushing and trying to get more and more out of you. And this can be stressful. And then, of course, you could have stress from, not being concerned about your losing your job and things like this. So work can be stressful, which is why I'm self-employed, which has its own type of stress. We can't really escape it, but it's, I think, less stressful. At least I can take a day off when I want to and start when I want to. And the next big cause of stress we have is, of course, financial stress. And like my mother, dear mother, always told me that having money and saving money gives you peace of mind. It took me a while to accept that, but she's correct. Spending money does not lower your stress. You may feel a little happier or get some good feeling for that short period of time when you purchased it, when you first took it home, or these days opened up the Amazon package. You feel happy. You may used it. You may play with it. You may enjoyed it for a short period of time, but it doesn't lower your stress purchasing things. But having money in the bank, knowing you can pay your bills for the next month or 2 months would be better. 6 months would be better. If you had enough money that you knew you could save up, you could pay for your rent, your mortgage, all your food, all of your expenses for 6 months, that would lower your stress. And if you could do it 1 year, even better. But living month to month, this is very stressful. And the best thing you can do is don't spend and try to save. So you can, and then of course we have relationships stress. Now, I'm just an herbalist, so I can't be counseling you on your life or your relationship, but we do know there's a lot of relationship stress. Now, I'm not going to give you marital advice or relationship advice, but I do see people pick their partners for the wrong reasons. Maybe you should be looking at potential partners as one who keeps you calm and helps you to relax and feel safe. But unfortunately, we are often picking our partners because they got a nice shape to their body, or they're physically attractive to us. Again, you get the short-term benefits of being physically attracted, but then in the end of the day, you may be with the wrong person for your mental state and create a lot of stress and anxiety. And of course, divorce is probably the most stressful thing you could ever do. So you can see how stress is everywhere. So we're going to talk today about how to manage that stress better. And you need to think about things that you can do in your life to lower this lifestyle stress. I remember one time I was in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, and I met a wealthy man in a building in a restaurant that he told me to go to on the 7th or 8th floor. And when he arrived, I found out he owned the building and the restaurant. The waiter basically told us as we were waiting for him. So the waiter just started bringing us dishes and snacks and things just because we mentioned his name. And we told him, no, we don't want to order. It looked expensive for us. We're not going to order. We were just waiting for our client. And when he showed up, it was a very wealthy man, owned a few buildings, had a bunch of companies. And I realized that this man was on sleeping meds, anxiety meds, blood pressure meds. And before I treated him and gave him herbs for his blood pressure, his anxiety, and his sleep, which we're going to talk about herbs and herbal formulas in a minute, I said, you need to change your life. I mean, you're already wealthy. Why do you need to start new businesses? Why do you need to buy another building? And you need to slow down. You need to rest more. You need to benefit from the money that you have instead of continuing to reinvest it, borrow more money from the bank, which is just stressing you out. And a lot of wealthy people owe far more money than they have. And that creates a lot of stress. Just owing money creates stress. And if you owe billions of dollars, you're going to be more stressed out than somebody who owes a couple hundred. So he was definitely in this case, borrowing money, buying buildings, acquiring companies. And later on, I was told that he actually took my advice to heart and canceled an arrangement that he had to purchase another company. I feel sorry for the people who lost the deal because of an herbalist told his patient to stop buying more companies to lower his stress. But you can see how this we create the stress ourselves. And the next area of stress, before I get on to stress created from stimulants, which we often are doing too, is our thinking. And we overthink. Or overstimulated. We're overly sensitive sometimes to what people say. Or we're overly ambitious, like the wealthy man. And we're overworking. So you can see all of these overthinking, overworking, overambitious, all are being overly sensitive. All of these things are they're all going to affect your nervous system. And that's really what we're talking about today is your nervous system. So your mind, you has to change as well. Your thinking has to change. You have to let go of things. You have to take breaks. You have to stop earlier. You have to not care what people say. You need to let go and not be attached to things and attached to people and attached to your stuff and attached to what even people think of you, or this will create more stress. So those are the thinking that creates stress. Now we're going to cover diet and beverages that create stress. And this is number one. Of course, we all know what I'm going to say here, particularly if you're my patient and you came to me with anxiety. I'm going to ask you, you're drinking coffee and you get heart palpitations. You feel anxious in the day. You're up at night tossing and turning and even urinating at night, and you're drinking coffee. Well, I can tell you what everybody says. I'm just having one cup. But yeah, if you're a type of person that can drink a couple cups, and that's usually a heavier set person, and have a couple cups of coffee, still sleep like a baby at night, never have a racing heart, never have panic attacks, and fine, have your coffee. In fact, for people who are obese, I recommend for breakfast, that's all they have is coffee. No sugar, no creamer, just the little honey in it. But black coffee is very good for somebody with low blood pressure, a lethargic, even low thyroid, and oversleeper. Give them a cup of coffee early in the morning, get them going, and make that breakfast, because an obese person doesn't need to have breakfast. They can just have their cup of coffee. But for those people, so it's nothing against coffee, even though it is inflammatory. That's another subject. But it's extremely stimulating, the caffeine. And of course, it's also dehydrating, drying, and dehydration can aggravate your nervous system as well. So if you're a sensitive type, your heart races sometimes, you get anxiety sometimes, you can't sleep at night because you're overthinking and you're tossing and turning, you need to forget the coffee, no matter how much you like it. Now, I will introduce some herbs and some herbal products that can be taken instead. They're called adrenal support products. It's the adrenal support herbs that you can take. Now, of course, there's a lot of bad information about adrenal herbs. Mostly popular now, they're talking about mushrooms, and those will not be covered because they're not that effective for what we're talking about here. You need another alternative way to have energy to get you through the day so you're not sleepy and tired and not aggravate your nervous system or overstimulate your adrenals. And we're going to talk about that. But first, if you're an anxious person in this category that we're talking about, you need to stop the coffee. I would even stop the decaf because there's some caffeine in there. Green tea, because the caffeine. Now, of course, I prefer green tea over coffee when it comes to inflammation and pain because coffee bean, whether it's decaf or not, is inflammatory, and green tea is anti-inflammatory. So if caffeine's not bothering you, you're sleeping like a baby, and you never have anxiety, I would at least move over to green tea. And of course, other things that are stimulating that you may not want to hear is chocolate. Chocolate is very stimulating. Another bean, a cacao bean. Of course, it's been heavily marketed, and a lot of people fell for the marketing that it's a superfood. It's a fraud. It's an inflammatory too. It makes your joint pain worse. It's very stimulating. In fact, I've had more than one patient who was stopped the chocolate at night and said that improved her sleep. And if you just are really addicted to chocolate, since there is an addictive quality to it, which we all know about, I have to confess I've had my chocolate addictive days, and I just don't touch it now. Like a former alcoholic, I can't have one little bite of chocolate, or I could just go continue to buy one bar through the checkout counter. Of course, low sugar and dark. There's all kinds of justifications we have, but it's very stimulating. But if you really are addicted to it, then at least have it in the morning. And more than one, like I said, more than one patient did tell me by just stopping the chocolate at night improve their sleep. So it is stimulating. But it's useful for some things. Of course, we know chocolate is stimulating and it's an aphrodisiac. So Valentine's Day, you can break the exception and give out the chocolate. But every day, it's going to stimulate you if you're a sensitive type. Another point to keep in mind for when we talk about caffeine is it stays in your body for days. They say the half-life is like 48 hours, but other people say that it can stay up 4 or 5 days. I know that when I went to Turkey and I was slamming down espressos 2 or 3 times a day, after about a week, at first it was no problem. After about a week, I wasn't sleeping at night. But I had some sleeping tea and I knocked myself out. But boy, I needed it after having espressos for a week. And then when I left Istanbul and went to India, my destination, where I had no coffee in my house in India, we just have chai and things. I went through a withdrawal, and I think it took at least 5-6 days. The first 3 days, I still couldn't sleep, even though I wasn't even consuming coffee. So that really proved to me that this caffeine, when you take it, accumulates. So that's why the whole idea, I only have 1 cup a day, is incorrect thinking, because that caffeine is still in you at night. And in fact, the next night it's still there. And if you did another cup, it's accumulating. So this is why, if you haven't had coffee for a while, you're fine for a couple days. But once you do 1 cup every day or 2 cups every day, then it accumulates and it will take some time to get it out of your system. Even people would quit, notice their sleep doesn't get better for almost a week or so. So no more coffee, no more green tea, no more caffeine, no more TV, no more politics, no more Red Bull, no computer late at night, no talking politics, anything. If you're a sensitive type, you need to avoid to get your stress down, because when your stress is high, you don't sleep well. When you don't sleep well, you're going to be more attracted to stimulants the next day. It's one of these vicious cycles that so many people are in. They're having their one cup of coffee, their stressful life. They don't sleep well. The next day, they're tired. So they're back on the coffee again, which is affecting their sleep. And I'm going to talk how to break that cycle with herbs in a minute. But next, I want to talk about, before we get to the herbs, I want to talk about things that you can do in your life to lower your stress. And one, peaceful music, relaxing music, less work, going to bed earlier. Of course, yoga, meditation, not going to the gym and having a trainer. Come on, give me 10 more. Come on, push it. This is also going to stress you out. Or even just pushing yourself in any manner, pushing yourself to work hard, pushing yourself to exercise hard. All is going to create, physical and mental stress on the body. So that's why you want to be doing yoga, stretching, relaxing, meditation, breathing practice. And my final comment on improving your management of stress is to have a regular routine. That's very difficult. Getting up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, eating at the same time. The more regular your routine, the more stable your life is. The more stable your life is, the less stress you have. Again, that was part of my philosophy in raising my son, is to kind of have a regular routine. And we know that with babies, if we change the feeding time, we change the nursing time, they like things at the same time every day. Even animals do. My pets, they like to be fed at the same time. Once I go past that time, they're starting to stress. Now, I can change the time. They just need to know when the food is coming. And they don't have a clock, but they know. They know that every day when the sun goes down, the food's coming. And they come in, because I got more than 10 cats, and they come back looking for their food. And if I'm doing a webinar and not feeding them, they're stressing out right now. I can hear them in the other room stressing, because I really should have fed them before this. So when you change your routine of your life, you eat late, then you eat early, you stay up early, you go to bed early, you eat at all different times. This irregular lifestyle creates instability, and instability makes more stress in your life. So that said, try to make those changes first, because the first treatment in any condition is to remove the causes. So hopefully by my talk, you identified some of the causes that you're doing to create the stress. I know as a famous herbalist, everybody wants my herbs. Nobody wants to hear the counseling. They just want the herbs. Just give me the herb for my anxiety. Give me the herbs for my sleep. Give me the herbs for my adrenal gland. That's what everybody's thinking. But no, I'm trying to remove the cause, because if you don't remove the cause, the herbs may not work. I have to get you off of the caffeine, get you to bed earlier, get you to stop pushing yourself at the gym. All of these things I need to identify and ask you to remove them, because they're causing the stress. And then if you remove most of them, we can't remove them all, we're all going to have some stress, then the herbs can work very well. But if you're, again, pushing yourself too much, drinking coffee all day, my relaxing herbs or no relaxing herbs is going to be able to help you. You have to remove the cause. So what we're talking about today is really treating the nervous system. That's what we're talking about. So all of the herbs and herbal products and formulas that we're going to go over are talking about supporting your nervous system. This is very important to understand this, that you're not just treating your anxiety. Everything is related back to your nervous system. In Ayurveda or any naturopath or Ayurvedic doctor like myself, we're treating systems and organs in the body. So in this case, we're treating the nervous system. And all the things that I told you, working too hard, stressing, thinking too much, having caffeine, These are all aggravating the nervous system. So really almost any issue that you have related to your nervous system, even neuropathy, Parkinson's, these are all going to be aggravated and made worse by everything that I just told you, especially coffee. So if we look here on Herb Teas, the sponsor of this webinar, all of the herbs are broken down mostly by systems in the body, cardiovascular system. And here we go, for example, and here we go, nervous system. And this covers anxiety, headaches, nerve pain. And now we're going to look at these here. You can see we got relaxing teas. We're going to talk about these, adrenal teas, mood balancer, adrenal formulas, calming. But we also have other ones for depression, neuropathy, anger, clarity of mind, couple sleeping formulas, nerve damage like Parkinson's and MS, and even hyperthyroidism and headaches and nerve pain. Those are all under neuropathy. But we're going to start today by this tea, which I'm having right now. This is what I'm drinking. Chill out tea. Used to be called relaxing and calming tea. I'm very pragmatic in my names, but over time, when we started selling these online, we thought of new names. But let's look at these herbs, because these Western herbs are herbs that you could buy yourself. Of course, a formula is always better than a single herb. But you can see there's the rose petals in there. That's the oat straw, the long ones. But lemon balm's from the mint family. And, we also have peppermint, spearmint, lemon balm. There's other many herbs in the mint family, but lemon balm is the relaxing one, the calming one. So it's the base of the formula. And it also has nice flavor. But the real, probably most important herb here is passion flower. So if you were only to have one herb to help you relax in the day, we're not talking about sleep, would be passion flower. But if we want to make this formula more better, we put a little catnip in there. That's also very supportive of the nervous system. Motherwort, also very good for the nervous system. So you really have three herbs: passion flower, catnip, and motherwort. Those are really supporting the nervous system. And they're kind of backed, or the bulk herb is the lemon balm, but it's probably not making you relax very much. But if you don't have much anxiety, just lemon balm. If you're going to make a tea on your own, just do lemon balm and passion flower. It's going to be fine. Now, why do we have oat straw? Oats is very good for the nervous system. I wouldn't say it's relaxing. It's what we call supportive herb. We use it for, actually, oats is good, supportive for the nervous system, particularly the myelin sheath on the nerves. So it's used a lot of times with nerve damage like Parkinson's. We use more oats. So it's supportive of the nervous system. So still very important. Lavender, of course, lavender is a little calming and relaxing. You can have lavender in your bath. You can have little lavender pillows in your bed, but it's not very effective. Passion flower is really the key herb here. A lavender gives it a flavor, gives it a scent. And of course, I wouldn't even call it a nervine, but it is relaxing, particularly the scent. Now we have two other herbs, rosemary and cinnamon, and these are not relaxing at all, are not supportive of the nervous system. They're warming and circulatory, so they're helping to get the herbs to the brain, particularly for somebody who's cold and they're anxious and their feet are cold. This will help warm them up a little bit, because cold, creates more nervousness. We all tremble and shake when we're cold. So the nerves like warm, they hate cold. And also we got to get these herbs to the brain. So these rosemary and cinnamon, these are like supportive herbs, supporting the whole formula. Now, people say, why'd you put in rose petals? Because it looks nice, smells beautiful, and makes it taste better. No other reason. But rose is calming, sweet, and cooling. It's even used in many formulas for anger. Very nice formula. Very good tasting because of the lavender and the rose petals and the lemon balm. Very effective because you've got three herbs: passion flower, catnip, and motherwort. Very stabilizing due to the oat straw, and very effective in far as reaching your nervous system due to the rosemary and cinnamon. A great formula if I do say so myself. And that, of course, is on Herban Teas. You can find it there, and it's a very popular product. And there it is there on Herban Teas. We talk about it more. You can see a picture of it there. See? Okay. So the next product would be the knockout tea, which is even sells more. And you're going to start to see some similar herbs. Passion flower, is still in there. There's passion flower, but there's lemon balm. Lemon balm's like the base of the formula. Catnip, good for the nervous system. I would say, it's not really sedative, but it's calming. And then lavender for the same reasons we had it before. Passion flower. So these are the calming ones: catnip, lavender, passion flower. Same as the last time. Obviously, I like that combination. Works very good in a base of lemon balm. But why does this one knock you out, make you sleepy? Well, of course, chamomile makes you sleepy, which is why I don't put it in the chill out tea, because I don't want you to be sleepy in the day. I'm just trying to get you to relax. So I don't use chamomile in the day unless you're having a panic attack, and then chamomile may help. But just to stay relaxed, you don't need chamomile. It makes people sleepy, but it is more of a sedative quality. But what really makes this tea the knockout is the poppy seed, the hops, and the valerian root. And there's not much valerian root. There's only like 5% in there. But those are these sedative ones. So we could say chamomile, poppy seed, hops, and valerian are the knockout herbs that really, well, chamomile makes you sleepy. Poppy seed, we know it's an opiumate, basically, but it's in small amounts. Even in here, these are just like 5%, 7%. These are small amounts. But, 3 of these work much better than just one. And remember, we're still supporting the nervous system with the passion flower and the catnip. So, and then the licorice is used like a catalyst. It makes all the other herbs work better. They kind of blends together. You don't need much. For some reason, people are scared of licorice. I think just some bad reviews, but it's a very good herb. It's used in Chinese herbalism, Western herbalism, and Ayurvedic herbalism. It's a great herb. It doesn't have a lot of power and potential by itself, except maybe for a sore throat, but it's a very good supportive herb that makes the whole formula work better. It's slightly sweet, and it just harmonizes all of the herbs together. And there's rose petals. I just love rose petals because they have a nice aroma, and they are a little calming. So this is definitely a knockout formula. So somebody with anxiety can have relaxing tea all day long, and then, sleeping tea at night to get themselves to sleep, to knock out. By the way, these teas are available in loose leaf, and they're also available in filled in tea bags right there. So that's a good combination. However, if you're stressed out and tired in the day, and you can't be doing a relaxing tea because it may make you sleepy. You're so tired because you haven't slept good. And relaxing tea is more for the person who's got anxiety in the day. But if you're so tired in the day, then you're better off to do the adrenal fatigue recovery tea. It used to just be called adrenal tea, but now it's called adrenal fatigue recovery tea. This is more lowering your stress, supporting the adrenal glands, and providing non-stimulating energy. And this is what we use to get people off of coffee. Now you can see there's no leafy greens in here now. In fact, it's all roots and a bark and seeds. So this formula needs to be decoction, needs to be boiled. You can't just pour hot water on it. You can, and you can see the weight is higher because these are heavier. It's roots. So we really have combined a Western and Indian herbalism here. Probably the premier herb in Western herbalism for, anxiety and adrenal fatigue is not mushrooms, even in Chinese medicine. It's alethro. The ginsengs, the ginsengs is what the Chinese herbalists would use, not mushrooms. Maybe mushroom would be supportive, secondary, but not like people are talking about it today. Alethro we call it the poor man ginseng because it's kind of cheap, or Siberian ginseng or Russian ginseng. It's not that strong. And you can see those little strips of it there. It's a root. And it just that by itself can get you through the day. So if you were only to pick one herb in here to get you through the day, it would be the alethro root. It's got a lifting quality to more than ashwagandha. Many people are somewhat disappointed with ashwagandha. They said, "Oh, it didn't give me energy." Well, you know, this tea itself really doesn't give you energy. All it does is stop you from crashing. If you're used to the caffeine up and then the caffeine crash where you got to do another cup with some sugar, that's not good. That's very unstable, not just for your nerves, but for your blood sugar. Here, you're not going to get the up. You're just going to not have the down. Now, alethro root, if you did enough of alethro root all by itself or any ginseng, you would feel more up, but it's probably only 20% of the formula. Ashwagandha, almost not stimulating at all, but it's very stabilizing for the nerves, helps you deal with the stress, helps you deal with the anxiety, and you don't feel tired and you don't crash. And it supports the adrenal glands because neither of these have caffeine in them. And just the ashwagandha by itself is not enough for the really burned out, tired person. And you can't take ashwagandha in tinctures. It's not going to work, by the way. Alethro, maybe in a little bit in a tincture, but this is not going to work. Ashwagandha is a building herb, stamina building, and even technically to consume it in powder form would be a weight gaining herb. So this formula is for somebody who's thin and anxious and sensitive, and it feels dependent on coffee. Now, licorice is an adaptogen, which is one reason it's used so much as a supporting herb. But technically it is an adaptive herb. It's not going to give you more energy, but definitely makes the alethro root and the ashwagandha work better together. So that's really the formula: ashwagandha, alethro root, and licorice. Now, again, it's backed with cinnamon. It's more for circulatory purposes. Cardamom, because, black pepper and some spices are a little too stimulating. Cardamom has a very nice taste and is very soothing and non-stimulating. Wonderful tasting formula, but it is decoction. You do have to boil it. And if you were to just pick, if you're a super sensitive person and you're not tired, just do the ashwagandha, but not tincture. And then if you need a little kick, then do the alethro root. And if you want a better formula, combine them together and add the licorice root to it. The cardamom is just secondary, just for the flavor. So, and this also comes in Ayurveda herbal formula too. You can see here, we also sell this adrenal tonic support, and you can see the first ingredient is ashwagandha. Now, there's other ingredients too that make this more, and this one is less stimulating than the first one. Usually I give this adrenal tea in the morning. So instead of coffee, so they can just get going. And then in the afternoon, so the person doesn't crash, you can do the adrenal tonic. And it has more supportive herbs like Vidari Khan, which comes from a potato. It's a very building. And Bala means strength. And then the other herb in there is Brahmi. That's for the mind, calming, cooling. And then Tulsi, which is also an adaptogen. And there you can see cinnamon, licorice. And because this is a heavy herb and you're consuming it, then you have to put some herbs in there to help you digest it. And that's what the cumin and ginger are for. Because if you take this in a powder form, it's very heavy, building, strengthening formula. And it's without the ginger and the cumin, you could get gas and bloating. So the ginger and cumin is just to help you to digest the herbs. Now, we do sell it in capsule, but again, these formulas all work better in powdered form. Because really you should be taking no herbs in capsule. These herbs need to be dissolved in water, and then you're drinking the water and the herbs. When you take a capsule, you're just popping it in your stomach acids. I mean, some things like colon herbs and certain herbs, it's not a big problem. But digestive herbs, I don't even offer them in capsule, and I try to discourage people to not purchase any herbs in capsule. Because they don't work as well. That's why Ayurveda does not use any capsules, and I did not provide capsules for more than 20 years to my patients. But, now that I sell them online, we give you the option. And there are two versions of this formula. There's the adrenal support standard, this one, which is really for the vata type of prakriti, and then there's adrenal support for pitta, which has got some shatavari, more cooling, and no ginger. That's the one I use. So there are two versions of that. If you're pitta, you're warm, you're hot, you want to get the other one. Okay. So, and if you're going to have just one herb here, of course, it would ashwagandha powder would be the best herb, maybe mixed with a little ginger. If you were to make a simple formula on yourself, you get the ashwagandha powder, mix it with a little ginger, like 10% ginger, and you could take that a couple times a day. It says most in the morning and afternoon to avoid fatigue. Sometimes people buy these adrenal formulas or adrenal tea, and they say that they didn't think it was even working until they stopped it. And then they were tired and fatigued in the afternoon. So that's a very interesting point, that you don't get the energy up, but it does keep you going throughout the day, getting you off of the coffee. Then at evening, you can do the relaxing tea to kind of chill out in the early evening. And then right before bed, you can do the sleeping tea to kind of knock out. And that combination I'm using a lot of times with my patients. Adrenal tea in the morning, adrenal formula in the afternoon to keep you going, relaxing tea in the early evening to unwind, and then sleeping tea to knock you out. And once you do that even 1 or 2 days, you break the cycle. You're sleeping better now. You're off of the coffee. And then you may not even need these herbs, because if you're healthy, you shouldn't need these herbs in the day unless you're having a very stressful life or you're trying to wean yourself off of coffee. Now I do the relaxing tea, and that's enough to get me to sleep. But sometimes I do the sleeping tea, and I do the adrenal tonic, but I do the pitta one, particularly for a busy day. Now, if you're a person who's having anxiety, panic attacks, you really need to be looking at a formula, because a formula is much stronger than a tea. Tinctures are weak. Homeopathic is even weaker. And formulas are much stronger than any tea. So this is calming formula, much stronger than the relaxing tea. And if you're having panic attacks, then I will always provide this formula. Maybe I'll provide both. If we look at the ingredients, there's the ashwagandha, but we also have more calming herbs like jatamatsi, which is kind of like a passion flower, and shankpushpi, also kind of like a passion flower, relaxing, nervine, and tagar. A brahmi is for the mind. And here's the sedative. It's a little sedative in here. Tagar. Tagar, they call it Indian valerium. This is probably only 5% in here, because you're not trying to knock the person out. You're just trying to get rid of them. It even says here, this is for anxiety, fear, and panic attacks. So if you're at that level, then this is what I'm going to provide. Of course, it's going to work better in a powder, but it still will work in capsules. So, and some people only take this as needed. Other people wake up in the morning, already have anxiety, and I tell them to take it first thing in the morning. So these type of people, they're anxious, wired, overly active, overly stimulated, and they don't really do good. The relaxing tea isn't enough for them. They don't even need the adrenal tea. Energy is not the problem. They're usually hyperactive. So that's why I give them the calming formula first in the morning, just to wind them down. And then this type of person can drink relaxing tea all day long. And then a little sleeping tea at night will knock them out, because they're very sensitive. Now, we do have different versions of the calming one. We have one for pitta. We call it calm and cool, and this is the one I would take. It's to say it's for more anxious, frustrated. Brahmi, the number one herb, because Brahmi is really one of the best herbs for the mind, and it's calming, it's cooling. We use it for anxiety, nervousness. There's the two other calming herbs in Ayurveda, shankpushpi, jatamatsi. This little combination, Brahmi, shankpushpi, and jatamatsi, that's textbook calming formula in Ayurveda, textbook. Now, to make it cooling and help it more with anger, we put in guduchi, which is a cooling, anti-inflammatory. We put in sandalwood, another cooling herb, and then we use licorice because it's, again, a catalyst, making the whole formula work better. But we have this guduchi and sandalwood These are the ones that are known to help with anger and irritability. And we combined it with Jatamatsi and Shangpushpi. And Shangpushpi is cooling, Jatamatsi is warming. So you can see Shangpushpi is in greater amounts than Jatamatsi on this formula. So this is a person who kind of, we call it like anxious frustration. They're not panicking. They're just getting frustrated, irritable, and stressing out, in the day. So if that's you, then this is a better choice for you than, and it comes in a bag. It also comes in capsules. That's a better choice for you than the calming formula. This is more for the person having the panic attack and not so much the irritability and the anger. Now, again, powders are more effective than teas, which is one reason an herbalist who only has teas isn't able to achieve what an Ayurveda doctor is achieving, just because of the giving everything in teas is going to be weaker, and a doctor or herbalist only buying tinctures is even going to have less ability to treat serious health issues. And for some reason, in my case, everybody comes to me when their condition is serious. Many of these clients have already tried tinctures, they've tried herbs, they're still not sleeping. Mostly that's because they didn't remove the causes like the coffee, the stress, and all this. But if I want to knock somebody out, this is the formula that I use. Tagar, that's the first ingredient, which is, like I said, they call it Indian valerian. Jatamatsi, we talked about that. And look, it's backed with a Western herb, the powder of chamomile. So you're not having chamomile tea, you're having the powder of chamomile. And this is another herb, Ayurvedic herb, sarpaganda. We also use it for lowering blood pressure. But these are all, tagar, sarpaganda, and chamomile, all sedatives. And Jatamatsi is a nervine, relaxing. But this is a quite strong formula. It's the plus. We have a few other versions, but so I think there's 25% tagar there, where, when you go look at the calming formula, it's probably only like 5% tagar. But if you can't sleep, if that's your big problem, I'm going to recommend relaxing tea in the evening, early evening, sleeping tea at night, and you're going to put a teaspoon of this formula in the sleeping tea. You can mix the formulas and put them in the tea to make them 5 times stronger. And that will knock you right out. And again, once you've got yourself knocked out, then you don't need so much herbs the next day, because the next day you're going to feel better. You're going to be more rested. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to sleep better that night. And so you're not going to need to take as many herbs at night. So herbs are not medication. I always speak about this on my podcast, that they're not medication. You don't take them forever. You take them to get the job done. And the herbs are also accumulating in your body. So if you're taking relaxing tea every day, sleeping formula every night, it's accumulating in your body. So the next day, you still got the herbs and the effects of these herbs pumping through your body, and you're more relaxed. And then, of course, if I talked you out of the coffee, I told you to get to bed earlier, told you to get off the computer earlier, got you off the chocolate, I removed the causes, and I gave you multiple products to use as tools to get yourself to sleep. Now you can see why I have a very high success rate for anxiety and insomnia. I would say it's 100%, except for the people who maybe just don't take the herbs or stop the coffee. So in that sense, maybe I'm 90% successful. And that 10% is the ones that didn't stop the coffee and just don't take the herbs. One of the two. They didn't get rid of the causes and they didn't take the herbs. Now, I have people who don't stop the coffee, can't stop the stressful job, and say they're in New York and they're a broker, and they're just drinking coffee and they're never going to stop, but they still do well because they come home and they do the relaxing tea, the sleeping formula, relax, and they use the herbs just to compensate. But once you're going to compensate for a very stressful life or coffee, you're probably going to need the powders, not the teas. But the best is remove the causes, and integrate more healthy habits in your life, like going to bed earlier, doing some yoga, doing some relaxation, having peaceful music on, staying away from politics and things like that, plus the herbs. So, this is the complete, you know, holistic treatment. That's what holistic treatment means. And you don't see many people doing holistic treatments. And really, the clients mostly don't want a holistic treatment. They just want the herbs because they know it worked for their friend, their cousin, who referred them to me. They know it worked because somebody referred them. Almost all of my patients are just referrals. And so they know it works. So they don't want the big counseling. They don't want to hear about stopping coffee and chocolate. They just want the herbs. But unless you just go to the website and buy it, and you do an appointment with me, I'm going to identify all these causes, spend some time sweet talking you out of them by convincing you through my experience. And I know from experience that if you don't remove some of these coffee causes, particularly coffee, the effects of the herbs may not be that good. But I've had people who told me they're still drinking coffee, taking the sleeping formula at night, and knocking out. But they become dependent on the formula because they're not getting rid of the cause. So they have to keep taking the formula. And I do. I have people that just keep buying the formulas because most of the people, they realize the formulas are much stronger than the teas after a while. Because initially I may give them sleeping tea and sleeping formula, but after a while they realize it's the formulas that are really working and having more impact. And in fact, you can drink up these bag of teas. The whole tea's gone in a couple of weeks if you're drinking a couple cups a day. The formula, you can take a teaspoon a night and a bag of formula will last longer than a bag of tea, even though it looks smaller. So they just keep having to, if you don't get rid of the causes, then you have to keep buying the herbs and taking the herbs every night until you're able to get rid of the cause. I can think of many people who were buying adrenal tea, sleeping formula for even more than 10 years. And after they retired, maybe moved to another house, or divorced, which if the spouse was the cause, you got rid of the cause, the work, the spouse, the life, whatever it was, it's gone. These people get off of all the herbs within weeks. I've had people who sold their house in New York City, moved to Florida. They're on the beach, and now they're just doing only the relaxing tea. When they bought many of the products I mentioned here, they bought them from me for more than a decade because they couldn't change their life. Once they changed their life, they didn't need them. So, that's important to understand. You will never be addicted to the herbs, and they're not going to hurt you. They're just powders ground up. In fact, all of them have vitamins and minerals. And some of these herbs that help you relax, they've found out are high in magnesium. So you got people taking magnesium every day, which, magnesium citrate, magnesium calcium. These are all chemicals made in a lab. They don't grow. It's another subject I speak about in my podcast, buying too many synthetic vitamins. And that reminds me, another stimulating problem I have is clients taking too much synthetic vitamins, particularly these big doses of B and B6, but particularly B12. Look on your vitamins and look at the B12. If it says more than 5,000% of the daily recommended allowance, and some of them say 20,000, 30,000% more than the recommended daily allowance, well, that's too stimulating. Supplements are another cause of overstimulation. You're taking supplements in the morning, you're having coffee, you're having chocolate, you're staying on your computer. It's all stimulating you too much. Now, if you can't change all those habits, the herbs are definitely a healthier choice, but it's always better to reduce down these causes and then have the herbs. And like I said, many of these herbs are full of vitamins and minerals, so they're very healthy for you, and you can do them long term, and they're very easy to stop anytime you want. All right. Well, I hope this gives you confidence that treating your anxiety, your insomnia, your nervousness, and your nervous system in general is very easy. You could do it at home. You can do it just from the information that I gave you and purchasing maybe, 5 to 10 herbs. But if you'd like to get from the website, just use the discount code webinar 10 off, and you'll get 10% off all the products there. Okay, I hope this helped you. And Remember, all those products I showed you are on hermanteas.com, the sponsor of this webinar. But I sincerely hope the information I provided you allows you to find a way to reduce your anxiety and stress and enjoy your life more. God bless you all. Thank you very much.